Okay, class. So this is your first video of the two that you're going to be doing this weekend. The first one is for Wordly Wise, lesson 14. You will have a quiz on it next week. But the important part here is let's go through the words, and I'll give you your homework at the end of the video. And there will be a couple of questions as we go through the video. So the first word we have is abeyance. Abeyance is a noun. So it's a state, usually temporarily, of inactivity or suspension. So that idea that you are have the inability to move for a moment. So kind of like that idea of something that's frozen for a moment and can't move, or it's suspended in time. It doesn't necessarily need to be a body, as in a physical human body. It can also be like here it says, as in the bank account was in a state of abeyance. So that fits too. The next one we have is buttress. Has three definitions here, two of them a noun, one of them a verb. So lots of definitions here. A projecting structure that supports a wall or building, or anything that supports or protects. So that with the noun idea, if you look at the ARC library, underneath it, it's got those two big red columns. Those are buttresses. Those are the things supporting the building. They're holding the building up. Sometimes you see columns like in churches, you look up and you see the walls and how they curve at the top, or the columns that they have on the side. Those are buttresses. If we're looking at the verb format, it's the idea of someone who supports or strengthens them. So you could say that Ms. Kirkman buttressed the class by doing such and such, by helping you study and prepare for an AP, but it's that idea of supporting and strengthening someone. Okay. Commensurate is an adjective. It's corresponding in size, degree, or amount. It's proportionate, or it's of equal value. So if we lay out things like silverware, they correspond in size, or degree, as in they're all silverware. If you lay out M&Ms and Skittles and a bunch of Reese's Pieces, they all are commensurate, as in they all correspond and they're the same size. Degree would be the idea of the extremity of it, or looking at the temperature of something. Amount, you can talk about the idea of how many things are there and that they are the same amount, so they're of equal value and they're proportionate. So riding in the buses today, you guys are basically, each bus is filled with a commensurate number of students or a proportionate number of students. Okay. Dilatory is an adjective, slow to act or respond, or delaying or tardy. So the idea here of someone who, when you're given an assignment, doesn't start it till later. You procrastinate. So you're slow to act or respond, or you're tardy as in you're late for something. So when someone is late to class, it is dilatory. Okay. Ecumenical is our next word, is an adjective. So it's universal, it's inclusive, and it's especially concerning religious matters. So the idea of that, if it's universal, as in it's part of a religious aspect that applies to all religions. If you think of the flood stories, each religion has a idea of a flood story. So flood stories are ecumenical because they are universal throughout the religions and throughout the cultures. So that fits, and it's very specific to religious matters. Okay, facade. I like to think of this as in fake, so it helps me to envision the definition. It's a noun with two definitions: the front or face of a building, or a superficial appearance or an illusion. So this is where I get the fake, as in a superficial, as in you think it's one thing but it's really not. And the facade, so it's just the front of a building. So if you've ever been to Universal Studios and you've gone on the studio tour, and down in the studio tour they have building fronts where it's just the front of the building, where someone could go in and out the door, but they're just going to the back of the wall. They're not actually going inside the building, but all they need is the facade or the front to film the movie. They don't need the inside of the building. So that I think of as fake also, because it's a fake building. It's just a wall or a face. Okay, but the facade of Pilibos is our front gate and our front building. It's that front idea of what our building stands for. Okay, the next one we have is gargoyle. It's a grotesque stone figure used as a decorative feature on a building or as an ornament, and it's usually a spout that's projecting. So if we look here at some pictures of gargoyles, and of course it's going to take forever to load these. These are gargoyles. So they usually have an open mouth that things can come out of the mouth, like water usually. So it acts kind of like a fountain and a spout. And they protrude. See, like here at the top of a building, they're protruding out and looking over the building. This one too, this one especially has that aspect to it. So that's a gargoyle. Okay. Moot is very overly used. The word is used wrong often, so paying attention to the definition is important. We got a verb and an adjective. The verb, to debate, to suggest, or discuss. And the adjective form is deprived of significance or it's irrelevant. So if someone says it's a moot point, as in it's no longer important, it's no longer something we're going to discuss, it's irrelevant to the topic. If someone brings up something that doesn't fit into the topic, it's moot. And then this idea here of the verb form, the issue of changing the dress code is often mooted, but never resolved, as in people suggest it, or they discuss it, or they debate it, but it's never actually something that is followed through with. Okay, pinnacle has a noun. It's got two aspects. So it's a tall, slender, pointed top, or it's a peak. So if you look at mountains, and it's the very top tip part of the mountain, it's that highest point or that peak of it. So when they were climbing Mount Everest, Krakauer reached the peak, or he reached the pinnacle of the mountain. And the next thing we have is here is the highest point of achievement. So in high school, the highest point of achievement is valedictorian. In college, it's magna cum laude. So we have those aspects. When you get promoted in companies and you own a company, you're the CEO. You're that highest point of it. Requiem is a noun. It's a funeral mass or service, or a musical composition honoring the dead. So if you've ever been to a funeral, it has that requiem aspect, that idea of that funeral mass or that service. That's a requiem. It's something that we remember. I think of it as a requiem is in remembrance of someone. Sacrosanct is an adjective. It's highly sacred or holy, not to be violated. So if we look back at this idea of ecumenical and how it is universal with religion, it kind of fits in with sacrosanct, because sacrosanct is something that's very sacred, it's very holy, and it's very religious, so we don't violate it. We follow those rules, we fit into that. So even if we are Christians, when we go somewhere, and or if you're one type of religion, when you go to another religious place and it's sacrosanct, you have that idea of you have to treat it that way. You have to treat it with that respect and not violate it within that aspect. Sensuous is an adjective, coming from or acting on the senses, or producing an agreeable effect on the senses. Senses as in your taste, your smell, your hearing, your sight, your touch, all of those. So but it's acting on your senses, or it's agreeable to your senses. So as in you tasted something and it gave you this sensuous feeling. You touched something and it felt sensuous. Especially like soft, silky fabrics have that idea. Okay. Tenant is a principle or belief held to be true, especially by members of an organization. So think of it here as like an honor code, as in everyone in this organization has the same principle. They all follow this same thing, and have these same moral standards or behavioral standards or honor code. So it's set out for an organization or a group. Transcend is a verb, to go above the limits of, or to exceed or surpass. So that idea is you go above the expectation. So if someone expected you to do here, but you actually achieve here, that fits. So not only are you moving up into and being one of the high achieving, so fitting in that pinnacle aspect, but you also are exceeding or surpassing what was put before you. Okay, the last one we have is venue. It's a noun, the scene or locale of an action or event, or the place of an alleged crime. So the first part, the scene of an event or an action. So like if you are going to a concert The venue is where that concert takes place. So if it takes place at Staples Center would be the venue. Or where the festival is at, where the protest is at today, where you guys are at. The other one is the idea of the place of an alleged crime. It says alleged because alleged means it's not proven yet, but venue is the location it took place. So where the shooting happened, where the robbery happened, those types of things. Okay, your homework today is not only to have watched the video, obviously, taking the notes, but also Wordly Wise 14A and B. We will go over those in class on Monday. And Tuesday, we will do stuff with C and D. So if you want to do C and D for gold and advance, you can. But other than that, you know it's your homework for Tuesday. Make sure you watch the second video. The second video will help and refer to reviewing things and what we're going to be doing next with that. Have a good weekend and talk to you later.